Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll just get started in a minute or two. And if you do have questions, feel free to throw those in the chat and we will get to them probably towards the end of the webinar. But ask away. I'm Adriana, by the way. I am the account manager here at Graphical Networks. Tim is also here with us. He's our sales executive. And Jason Sherman, who's going to be running the show today. It's our director of customer support. So today we are going to be talking about a guide to DCIM. We'll do a quick overview of netTerrain, tell you what we're all about, and do some use cases, a couple poll questions for you. So if you could participate in those, we'd love that. And then we'll go straight to the demo and do your questions and answers.
All right. We can probably go ahead and get, yep, we'll go ahead and get started. As was mentioned in the, I guess the window or toolbar somewhere, there's a place you can put questions. So if you do have questions, please do. Feel free to ask. Love to get questions as always. So we'll start with just quick use case type stuff. Rack diagrams, DCIM software, use case, maximize racks and space. Easily manage your space and equipment for better utilization. Some folks, when they're looking at DCIM, it's usually because they're coming off of something like just using Excel or something along those lines to document a data center or wiring closets, that sort of thing. Not necessarily anything wrong with that, but may not be as efficient as far as trying to determine certain things like space, equipment, where is it doing reporting, those types of things, especially when you get into connectivity, trying to show connections between equipment and so on. So that's kind of where a tool like ours comes into play. Easily and accurately plan capacity. So if you are planning, adding equipment, that kind of thing, you can add equipment into a cabinet, mark it as, there's a work order to install this, or just set a status or something that says, hey, this is for future. That helps you, plan that capacity, because now if you have a cabinet that's got an empty space and you've taken that space, but then all of a sudden someone comes along that takes it, that can be a problem, obviously, with a project. Equipment's certainly not inexpensive when you're talking about large routers and switches and things like that. So if you, don't have a place to put it, that can be obviously troublesome. Cable management, circuit management. So if you are going to track your cables and circuits, just how do you go about doing that? Adding cables and connections. What can we do in a tool, DCIM type tool? So that can be anything from, tracking your switches, switch ports to patch panels, all the way to your rooms, things like that. But you also don't have to overcomplicate it. Maybe it's more just simply, routers to a switch, or maybe just some core infrastructure cabling that you just want to keep track of. So within the DCIM tool, it's kind of up to you, at least in our tool. You kind of do what you want. Reduce power costs, lower PUE. Obviously, the better you manage your infrastructure, you can control some of the costs like power. You obviously don't want equipment that's just hanging out there running that's not really being used. You want to get rid of some of those things. So you want to be able to track costs, energy or power used, those types of things as well. So that's always a good thing. So I'm going to switch over to poll question 1. I'm going to stop my share just for a second so I can try and get in there and fire up the poll questions. There it is, poll. Let's see how I get this going. Okay. So where are your biggest headaches? Oh, I got to press launch, I think. And I think that'll come up for you. Yeah. Where are your biggest headaches? You can pick more than one. Go ahead, Adriana.
Nope, all good. Yeah, just You can choose as many as you'd like.
So
Just
space
give you guys a
racks,
minute or two.
cabling, power, too many tools, not enough integration. Okay. Lack of information, other, and fiber. I guess, what are the headaches you guys have? Give it 10 seconds there. So the result was kind of a mixed bag. Space, racks, lack of information, and a little bit lower was sort of power and too many tools. Not really much on fiber and other. I'll close this one out. Close that poll. Thanks for that. And then we'll get the other one going too. We'll just do both of these, I think, in a row. Get them out of the way. Then we'll get to netTerrain and we'll launch this. So what do you currently use to document? Data center spreadsheets, Excel. I assume Excel. I guess you could be using some other spreadsheet tool if there's any out there. Visio, other, combination, or little to no documentation. Give you guys a few more seconds to do that. The big winner so far has been spreadsheets, followed by Visio, which is what we typically see. They both tools have been around obviously a long time, very powerful tools, pretty good tools. But when you start to get into larger networks or you're trying to answer and add other questions or things like that, it's kind of hard to, I think, do that in spreadsheets and Visio long term. But a lot of people do it, so you want to make sure whatever tool you're looking at is a good replacement for those and give you bang for the buck, because those obviously don't have that much cost. Combination of above, and little to no documentation and other software. So we'll close this out. Thank you for that. And I'll get to sharing my screen here. Let me make sure I've got my netTerrain running. And do a share. And I will share my netTerrain. All right. So you guys should see hopefully my screen browser. It says demo.graphicalnetworks.com. And, real quick, we are a hierarchical tool. So you start kind of a high level and then work your way down to more detail. We are object based. So on the right hand side, you have a catalog of objects that we basically use to build things out. So, if you were to sort of build out a project, you might grab an object where, like, site, you might name the object, UMD or something like that, and then double click and drill down and start to build things out. You might bring a map in here. If you're using our outside plant, we do integrations with OpenStreetMaps, Google kind of thing. So you could, drill into an area and have that come up and be able to zoom in on that. Not everybody needs that. I mean, if you're doing DCIM and you're doing really just a building or a couple buildings, you don't really need the dynamic map part. But certainly it's something you can do if you're doing fiber and that type of thing. And then from there, you might bring in, buildings and other things like that. And you may put those directly on the map or not, but it's just drag and drop, double click, drill down, start to add things, cabinets, etc. Double click. And I'll show you some of this in much slower detail in just a second, but I'm just showing you kind of what you can do. So you drag and drop objects, so on and so forth. Now we do allow you to, for those folks who are, have Excel data, you can import that information and build your project from that data. So you're not, losing knowledge that you already have or throwing that out. You can take advantage of that and build out your project in netTerrain. We have the ability to do an import, Excel import. There's a format that we have that you would follow. So you just build it out based on that format. That's not hard. We have a lot of videos and documentation all for training and things like that. So you can bring your data in. We also have integrations with other systems, other data, ServiceNow, SolarWinds, things like that too. So if I double click, we're going to navigate down. We'll get into more of a data center type view. Here we've got multiple locations sort of all tied back, multiple universities all tied back to a primary, which in this case is UMD, University of Maryland. Here we've got multiple buildings. This is more geared towards outside plant, manholes, handholds, etc. So let's get into a building. So if you guys are documenting something like DCIM, you want to document a data center, you can, if you want to show location, you can do things like floors and rooms and have floor plans and that kind of thing that you upload and use for reference. You certainly don't have to. I mean, you can go straight into a floor plan of a data center or just go into a cabinet, a whole bunch of cabinets on a diagram. But typically, traditionally, folks will kind of lay things out in some sort of hierarchy, and then you'd have different, floor or just the data center floor and a floor plan, for instance. So as an example in here, I'll turn off my palette objects. This is showing more than just the data center. It's got some other things where I'm showing some power and upses and that kind of thing. But if I zoom in a bit, you'll see different equipment. I've got some cameras and things like that. Our tool's pretty flexible in that you can really kind of create whatever objects you want and bring them into the tool. So if you did want to track, a fire extinguisher and where it is, or your cameras, you can do that. But traditionally, cabinets for us are going to look down like you're looking down over top of them. It's the cabinet's represented as more of a rectangle. It's not very exciting to look at here, except you do have these different colors. This goes back to sort of capacity planning, where you can see visually rack utilization based on different parameters. On the left-hand side, I can go in and say, oh, I'm going to see this by rack utilization, or I want to see my cabinets based on power or based on weight, right? And those are all calculated from the data that's inside the cabinets, are really the devices that are rack mounted inside the cabinets. So in this case, all the red cabinets, you're talking about rack utilization, they're full. I mean, they're pretty much not a whole lot of rack space left. If you click on them, and in fact, on the left hand side, it tells you there's 0 rack units left in these cabinets. So it's consumed. But other ones, the yellow ones are a little bit less full. This is 43. Go to the orange, you'll see 42. There is a key for this at the top. You can see I've put a key in here so you can see these things. We could also run continuous rack or a rack finder report, so I can see, how many rack units do I have continuous in certain racks versus others. Because if you don't know that, if you have a big piece of equipment, you can't just say, okay, this has 7 rack units available. Well, yeah, if they're not continuous, you may not be able to put your equipment in, or whatever the size is, right? So you get the idea. Things like power would be calculated again from the equipment, from manufacturer sort of spec power. You can technically connect to a system or do SNMP and grab data on an updated basis, so you're getting sort of power updates and things like that, and report that too. But out of the box, typically you're doing the racks are really just kind of reading from the manufacturer spec power. But if you want to use our collector and do SNMP discovery or integrate with some system that has data, you can do that too. Pretty easy to configure and set that up. Anyway, let me drill down into this guy here. So here's cabinet, got equipment rack mounted. All right. So each of these is consuming a certain number of rack units. So this is obviously a 1U. This guy, I think, is a 3 or 4U. And so that will all get totaled up into that sort of roll up where you talk about, DCIM, and again, going back to capacity planning and that sort of thing. So with respect to something like, again, planning, these guys here, these white sort of devices have an outline and so on. These guys are in a phase of they have a work order associated with them. So they've got a task, and that's the task, and who needs to install this, and if there's child tasks and other things that goes with it. So when the person's done with this, they can close it out, and then the person who owns it can close it out, and then these will turn into regular devices once they're installed. But right now they're showing up as, sort of white task objects. So that way a person knows when they look at this device, this cabinet, they know, hey, this space might be free when I go look at it in the field, but we are planning on putting a device in there. So again, going back to capacity planning, just planning in general, right? So things like that you can do, which is always helpful. Now, if you're talking about connections and other things that you might want to do, you can drill down into a piece of equipment. We have what we call modeled objects, where you've got the picture of, the ports for the equipment, the pictures of the equipment, and so on. And you can see these links, these lines represent a connection from an object, from a port to another port. In this case, I can double click and actually go back to where I'm connected to. You can also use this as a means of generating what we call a circuit path. So when you get into sort of troubleshooting, especially if you're trying to track cables and things like that, it just allows you to see a physical path. Where do I start and where do I end? What is this whole sort of as a whole? What does this look like? Um, end to end. So in this case, it's a pretty big one. It shows you where we're starting as far as the port, going across a fiber patch cable through a cross connect, out a strand, and so on, and showing all the connectivity. You're like, well, what does that do with DCIM? Well, if you're tracking cables, it has everything to do with from the standpoint of tracking cables and knowing what's connected to what, and knowing if you're consuming ports, right? Okay, I'm consuming this port. How many ports do I have free on a switch? I need to put in a new circuit. How can I do that if I don't have a free port on the switch, right? So it goes back to that type of thing where you might do a report, or you just may visually see how things are connected together. And when you get to more things like outside plant with fiber cables and strands, again, more capacity planning. Do I have capacity? Do I have strands available to create a circuit? That's true for things like power, PDUs, and so on. I mean, you have a PDU, you're putting in equipment. Do I have connections available on a PDU strip? And do I have redundant connections? Do I have separate power paths that we can take from that standpoint as well? So things that you can do with the tool, software, etc. So I'm going to stop for a second. I just want to take a quick look and see if there's any questions.
We do have a couple questions.
Oh, we do. Okay, great.
In the chat.
All right. They're in the chat. I went to the Q&A. Sorry. Okay. Oh, look at that. I got a picture. Nice. Thank you for the picture. Looks very nice. Oh, I see. You got the before and after, which is even better. You can attach those pictures in netTerrain as well, so that's always a nice thing. Based on types of cables, copper, Cat6, all those things are cables that you can types that you can put into the system. You can just go in and press a button and say, I want to add a cable type. This is what I want to call it, right? So that's up to you. You can have as many of those as you want. I'll show you that in the catalog in a second. Yeah, so that's good. If there's other questions, please, post those. That'd be great. Hopefully I answered everything. If there's another, there's some more in here. Oh, I see. You had notes. Got it. Great. So let me get back to sharing my screen. If you have more questions, post them up. So yeah, in our cable types, if you look on the right hand side, there's different links and link types here in my catalog. Let me minimize my layers. So all different things you can choose from for creating connections. Now these links, you can go into and create a new link type if you want to. You name it. You choose what kind of link it is. If it's a stranded cable, or just a regular sort of what we call link, which is just something that connects 2 points together. But you can name anything you want. You can add data fields. So a big thing for us is, the ability to when you look at an object on the left-hand side, you have data about the object, right? So you can very easily capture information about an object type. And you can add your own fields to this. It's not like something you have to reach out to us and say, oh, I want to add a field. How do we do it? Nope. You just go into the system, assuming you're the right user type. You have the right permissions to do it. You can add data fields and other things. Because I think when you get into sort of doing things like DCIM or just network documentation in general, you want to be able to obviously sort of configure and hopefully put things in that you want to put in and track the data that you want to track, and hopefully in a manner that's somewhat easy to manage. So going back to slides here, give me 1 second. Jumping around with slideshow. So we saw a little bit of NetTerrain in action, and answered some questions. I'll check the questions again in a second. If you do want to try out NetTerrain, we have a place where you can sign up and try things out. You want to have a call discussion around just sales, cost, all those things. Reach out to Tim. His email address is up there, or email sales@graphicalnetworks.com, whichever. And we can certainly answer any and all the questions there, hopefully, for you and get those out of the way. So let me just take another quick look, see if there's any other QA stuff. Yep. So a couple more questions before I break. Templates of equipment. Yeah, we have about 650 or so manufacturers now, equipment. Cisco is obviously one of the biggest ones, Hewlett Packard, and so on, Huawei, whatever. There's lots of manufacturers that people reach out to us for. So they are not an extra purchase. They're part of our catalog when you purchase pre-built. We try and create things for you. If you're a customer, you can request new objects, and it's just part of being under maintenance. So Adriana put the cloud link in there for NetTerrain US. You don't have to put a credit card in or anything. It's a 14-day trial. We'll extend it if you're using it, if you're actively using it, or you call us and say, hey, I'm using it or I'm about to use it. Let me continue. We'll typically extend that for you. We're pretty good about that. Yeah, so lots of devices pre-built and so on. So as I mentioned, Excel import can definitely save you time, especially if you have Excel data. But if you have other data sources, that's fine. Otherwise, you just start to build things out in NetTerrain. I don't think it's very difficult. Just drag and drop type stuff, and you kind of just go from there. So,
and we do have another question, Jason.
Okay, let me stop my desktop to share. Yeah, I did. Okay. Visual multi-cell network routing, something that would show site to site. Sure. Let me go back into my NetTerrain here. So there's a couple ways you can view it. One way is you can create a circuit that would show you multiple or site to site. I'll show you one of the, oh, it's not paths. Sorry, I'm going to go to the hops here. I think this guy here, if we click on this guy. So this is a circuit diagram. Show you end to end, start to finish kind of thing. What you're going across takes a second to bring up, so bear with me. It's kind of a big one. But if you are trying to generate or see, end-to-end circuit, something like this will definitely show that to you, where you got building on one end, building on the other. I'm going, in this case, this is outside plant, where you're going across multiple manholes. Now, it doesn't mean you have to exclusively do this with outside plant. You can generate diagrams to see, within a building as well, type circuit. This just happens to be a kind of a large one, so you can see in there. And this shows you what strands and other things are being used by that particular path or circuit as well. So hopefully that helps. But there are other there's other views. There's the swim lane CLR. There's the circuit CLR. There's other kind of views and data you can get into with those paths. So I hope that answered your question. Cool, good. Glad that helped. So got a couple minutes left, but if there's no more questions, that's probably about it for me. I would say reach out. If you do want to do netterrain.us, you're going to sign up and try it out. Feel free, but you might want to schedule a 15-minute session with, or a 30-minute with one of the sales engineers so they can walk you through kind of how to get started. Otherwise, it might be a little deer in the headlights. It's not terribly hard to get started, but when you start to get into some of the more details and feature functionality stuff, if you don't want to read the user guide, which is 500 pages, you might want to just reach out to one of the sales folks, and they'll set up a time. They can schedule a time with one of the SEs, myself or Justice or one of the other folks here. So, anything else, Adriana?
I think we pretty much covered everything. You'll likely be hearing from Tim. He'll be following up. Kyle has a question.
Yeah, Kyle, we do have reporting, dashboard reports, we have table reports. You can build your own reports. We call it the Query Builder tool. You can do your own dashboard reports too. There's some caveats with that. You have to really host yourself because there's a dashboard reporting tool. You'd have to have access to that in the database. But the Query Builder you can do through the GUI. And there is some alarming, like if you're doing SNMP discovery, we do status. So we do status checks, SNMP. If it stops responding, then we trigger an event, typically email notification you'd set up, that kind of thing. So we are, to a certain extent, we do some of those things. Something like SolarWinds, they're obviously going to do that more extensively because that's kind of what that's purpose built for. But we can do a little bit of that with our SNMP discovery side and status changes and things like that, Kyle. So happy to show that in more detail as well if you want to have a call or separate call with one of the sales folks and one of the SEs. All right. I don't see anything else. So, guys, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. So, any
Thanks so much
questions,
for
just
joining
reach out.
us.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
one, everybody. Take care.